Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh here, and I think it's day almost maybe 25, 26, or 27 or so of this franchise broker journey, and it's definitely been, a crazy one. At that, I will say too, like we found out that our son is actually going to come a lot sooner than we expected, so about 3 weeks sooner. So that also puts a lot of pressure on making sure that everything's kind of gets squared away. So I'm sure it's going to put a little bit more of a change in just kind of like my day to day and things that we're doing. We're having to do more doctor's appointments prior to us seeing him. So that's just going to be another thing that's added to the schedule. So it's probably going to take a little bit of steam away from, some of the things I'm doing, but we'll be right back on it, probably in about a month or so. Well, probably a little bit more than a month because I'll be many sleepless nights and things like that. But the reason I wanted to kind of touch a little bit more around like success being much more like a plate of spaghetti is something that I say often on the podcast. And I think that there's such a misconception around success and what that looks like and what that is. And I think when we think about success, we think that it is a straight linear path where you don't make any mistakes, nothing goes the way you don't want it to go. Everything's just perfect. There's sunshine, rainbows, gumdrops, all the things happen. But the reality is that running a business while you live a life is running a business while you live a life. And we often forget that those potholes, speed bumps, even tow trucks that come out, for our quote unquote car, as we're trying to drive our business towards our goals and aspiration, ends up being the thing that can stop us from getting us to where we want to be if we allow it. But the reality is that those speed bumps, those roadblocks, even the towed cars are actually all part of the journey. And once we start to embrace that, we understand like how important persistence and resilience is. And sometimes when you hear the stories, I actually get more excited about hearing about the people that get no's, that continue to hear no, 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 and then they hear one yes after 1,000 times. There's even a quote that goes along the lines that I didn't find out one way, I found out 1,000 ways that didn't work, because that's end up being like kind of part of the journey. And as you know, I'm the king of butchering quotes, so it's something along those lines. I think that Edison said. But at the end of the day, the reason I want to bring that up is because this week was one of those weeks where I feel like I had a really high high at the end of the week where I talked with a potential candidate. I feel like it really went well. It was almost, I would say, a perfect fit for somebody who I think I will be able to help become an entrepreneur and business owner, somebody who's transitioning away from a position, knows it's just time to kind of transition, really no kind of love lost as far as like, where he's coming from. Is just like a time for him to make that transition. And he also has a big background in the sports industry too, which is super awesome for me, considering I have my master's in sports industry management. I love sports just because of not only the sports themselves and the competitiveness of it, but also just because of the lessons that are learned from sports. And I also used to run sports camps. I used to work with a franchise that ran sports camps. I was basically I'll call it like a Disneyland dad all across Northern Virginia, being able to go to different preschools and teach the sports camps for the preschoolers. So I absolutely loved everything about that. So just speaking with him, while I was literally at the hospital, we were having an appointment, me and my wife. Again, we had a set time. I had to push that time back, but these are just things that happen because life's, as I usually like to say. But that was a really high. Things were a little bit chaotic. I got a great call. I think the fact that I didn't and wasn't in the perfect place that I wanted to be in actually helped me out a lot, because I was able to just like approach it like a podcast conversation and just have a conversation, which is ultimately what you're trying to do. One big thing I will say is, if you do go through any type of training or you learn from other people, you're going to want to do all the things right. And I think as soon as you start to just understand the core of what you want to learn and continue to kind of improve upon that, but just have conversations when you're doing sales calls and things like that, I think it's going to be insanely beneficial for you, because I wasn't in my perfect place, because I didn't have all my ducks in a row and all of those things. I just ended up having a conversation and I feel like it flowed together really, really well. But at the same time, understand that I also had a no-show earlier on that week. So there's highs and there's lows and lows and lows and lows and lows along this journey. But it's going to be the resilience and the perseverance that's going to kind of help keep you through. So don't forget that plate of spaghetti. I love spaghetti. That's probably my go-to kind of thing to make, that I can make it pretty fast. And it's very much so like business and like life. The people that succeed not because they get all the things right, but because they have the perseverance and resilience to keep going. So make sure you keep going. I'm going to keep going. You'll keep hearing from me, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.